right, everyone, it's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Special Planning Committee of Wednesday, September 22nd. First item is the minutes of September 8th, 2021 are here for approval. Were there any errors or omissions?
Recommendation.
The recommendation has been moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Liu. Thank you. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It is carried. Thank you very much. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? All right, thank you. The next committee meeting is scheduled for October the 5th at 4 p.m. in Council Chambers. Item number 1, application by Number 6 Investments Limited for a strata title conversion at 2020 Number 6 Road and 14133 Burroughs Road. Mr. Craig and Mr. Rockerby.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would like to highlight very quickly some of the aspects of this application. So it is an application to stratify 2 existing industrial buildings on this property. One of the buildings was recently constructed last year, and the second was constructed in 2003. Both buildings are tenanted, and the tenants have been notified of the application and have not expressed any concerns to staff. Furthermore, the owner has confirmed that when he does, or if and when he does decide to sell any of the strata lots, the tenants would be guaranteed right of first refusal of the strata units that they occupy. Site landscaping was also recently redone when the building was completed last year. There are minimal changes proposed to the site landscaping, which would facilitate pedestrian improvements between the buildings and the sidewalks on both frontages. And as well, there would be some minor changes to the striping of the parking lot to accommodate the current bylaw requirements for accessible parking spaces. Any other questions about the application, I am happy to answer.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from committee? Seeing none, the recommendation has been moved by Councillor McNulty. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Liu. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? It is carried. Thank you. Item number 2, application by City Vancouver Academy Inc. for an extension to a temporary commercial use permit at units 2110, 2115, 2120, 2125, 2150, 2155, 2160, 2165, and 2170, 8766 McKim Way. Mr. Andrews, good afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing further to add aside from highlighting that this is an extension to an approved 1-year temporary use permit for education use. The applicant had found an appropriately zoned site for an alternative location, but negotiations fell through in the last year. And therefore, the applicant has applied for more time until September 8, 2022 to complete the negotiations and also submit and complete a building permit for tenant improvements for a new alternative site that is zoning compliant at 5900 Number 3 Road. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. I'll open it up to committee for questions or comments.
Move the recommendation.
Seeing none, the recommendation was moved by Councillor McNulty. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Liu. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It is carried. Thank you. Item number 3, 2022 Lulu Awards in Urban Design Schedule and Categories. Mr. Craig, but for committee, we do have correspondence on table, and we will have Ms. McGugan to speak after staff introduce and committee questions. So, Mr. Craig, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Nothing further to add. The report seeks endorsement on 2 items. A is holding the award next year in 2022, and the second is addition of 2 new subcategories under open space: universal design and innovation, and ecological design and innovation. These new subcategories are intended to really help create awareness and encourage innovation in universal accessibility and ecological design. The addition of the two categories further reinforces the intention of the awards to raise the bar through exemplary design and use it to create awareness and influence others. Nothing further to add. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Kalyanpur. Are there any questions from committee? All right, seeing none, I would invite Ms. McGugan. Good afternoon.
Okay, everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you really well. So if you just introduce yourself, and then you have 5 minutes. And Councillor Wolf, I will come to you after the presentation. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Sharon McGugan, President of the Garden City Conservation Society. We're so delighted to see this proposed subcategory that we hope will go forward, the ecological design and innovation. It's something that we feel could be a big help to, in the way that it can inspire others. It can firstly celebrate those developers that do try their best, given the challenges of the time, to restore some biodiversity back into the development that are sensitive to the changing environment, the climate we have. Biodiversity loss is real. We are in an ecological collapse, and I'm not making it up. It's according to the World Economic Forum and so on. There's lots of reports. I mentioned some of those in my written submission. State of the Birds Report 2019, we've lost 3 billion birds since the 1970s. Main reason is habitat loss. And these are backyard birds. We grew up, some of us grew up with these birds in our backyard, and they will be lost for future generations unless changes are made. And we need to make sure this doesn't happen. And one way we can that does help is to honor and celebrate those developers who have taken on this challenge, the ones that incorporate nature into their planning instead of like shutting it out or ignoring it. And also Richmond being located on the Fraser Delta is a key biodiversity area. What we do in Richmond to protect and restore biodiversity matters. It certainly matters to the birds who are, by their very existence, part of our larger family. The big question, how to mitigate ecological loss, is not an easy one, but we're very appreciative, very grateful that the planning and department has talked about this and has come forward with this proposal that we see as a positive step. I might also add that a mixed forest was bulldozed in my street today. It was decades old. There were lots of birds. It was great habitat. So what I always wonder is how to mitigate that ecological loss. What will the new development look like? The townhouses, will they put in bird-friendly trees? Will they have bushes that provide food and shelter for our birds? It's not hard to do this, and I think that this award supporting this new category could really make a difference, because my neighborhood was redeveloped 15 years ago, and now we see the developments that didn't do a good job, but also the ones that did, that stand out. They have beautiful trees, they have hedges, they have plants that attract birds to the site. Birds build nests. So those are the types of developments that we'd like to honor and we'd like to see lots of in Richmond. So we thank the planning department for this great initiative. And if I have 30 seconds, I just want to say in conclusion, if you haven't read it, I did speak to Birds Canada about this initiative. They were very, very excited about it. And the quote is, Birds Canada fully supports the City of Richmond in implementing progressive bird-friendly initiatives. To that end, we also support the Garden City Conservation Society and the idea of including an ecological category in the Lulu Awards on urban design. We sincerely hope that the Design Award can include such a category in the interests of wildlife and their habitat, and we are very happy to see this, and we certainly hope that it goes forward. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your presentation. Any questions of the delegate? Councillor Wolf, is your question of the delegate or of staff?
Of staff, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. McGugan. All right, Councillor Wolf.
Okay. Right.
Thank you. And I've now figured out I had to manually go in to turn off. If I give a thumbs up, it automatically put my thumb up, and if I put my hand up, it automatically showed my hand up. So if anyone else has been having those issues, you have to go to settings and change it. Zoom just did that. Anyhow, I have a couple of questions to staff. I'd like to start out through the chair to ask about how did these two new subcategories come about? Was there stakeholder involvement? Was there advisory committees of council that suggested them? I'd like to know a little bit on that. And in addition to that, was there a third subcategory that was close to being suggested?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf. Staff had received previous feedback from members of the public about the importance of universal accessibility and ecological design and developments in the city. In order to really create more awareness and encourage innovation in universal design and ecological design, staff recommended the addition of the two new subcategories. In response to your second part of the question, we didn't exclude or take out any existing categories. We, in fact, added the two new subcategories.
Perfect. Thank you. Through the chair, just follow up on that, if I may, to staff. So I appreciate you mentioning that public members had commented the need for this. I'm just curious in the methodology of their reaching out to us. Was it a Let's Talk Richmond? Do you have anything more than public members? Was it written to mayor and council? I don't remember hearing for specific designs like this in our letters.
Perhaps through the chair, I'll tackle that one. We received some feedback as a result of when the awards were achieved or last presented with respect to the ecological category. With respect to the universal accessibility category, we do meet twice annually with the Richmond Center for Disability over physical disability challenges. The city also has a very strong commitment through universal accessibility, and we felt that the combination of those two items and the suggestions by the Richmond Center for Disability led to us to recommend that category.
Thank you. Through the chair, thanks to staff on providing that. I think it's to hear the values that come out of the staff meetings with centers, associations, societies. There's a lot of value in that. So thanks for providing that level of detail. I also heard the news story today about in the city of Vancouver, since the patio allowance, a lot of businesses applied and were granted access to city, private, or public areas to expand their patios, like some did in Richmond. And the issue now is dealing with the accessibility of some of these that were put in fairly quick and have actually really poor accessibility. So I didn't hear that as one of the reasons, but so perhaps as we were granting and perhaps providing some oversight as they were being installed, maybe we've already addressed the accessibility. Does staff have any comments on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Wolf, I believe in terms of temporary patios, there will be a report coming forward to council for consideration in the coming months with respect to the temporary patio program. And there will be information potentially in that report regarding the items that you've noted.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, if I may, through the chair, just on a different direction, the other item considered a new subcategory, ecological design innovation, as was spoken to from the delegate, definitely in support of it, and also highlighting in the Lulu Island Awards program that the City of Richmond staff can be one of those who supplies the submission So seeing that this is a category, I think right away, our own city staff should, if this gets approved at council, should seek out existing projects that we're about to do, like bulldoze areas with natural vegetation and trees to put in paved area, to perhaps revisit some of our existing capital projects to bring in ecological design that was not considered in the previous design process. Because again, the City of Richmond can help set that bar or raise the bar, as was mentioned in the report, to get some of those important individual house projects. And I'll just suggest one more example related to planning and development discussed at this committee previously. A couple properties on Williams Road. One poisoned the giant sequoia they had in the front yard, and another one a block down the road has asked for variance to set their house back and to protect the whole structure or the root system and space underneath their significant tree. So I think helping to highlight projects like this to bring the profile up to provide the carrot instead of the stick approach will get a better compliance overall. So I appreciate the staff's consideration adding this second new subcategory. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Is there any other comments or questions from committee or any other councillor in attendance?
Move the recommendation.
The recommendation has been moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded. Thank you. Well, I think I really thank staff for bringing this forward. I think it's timely and relevant and really is going to enrich the Lulu Awards program in general. And I think that the communication piece, as we go out to the community with the awards, it's only going to spread the word out further, and I think that's a really good thing. So I'll call Councillor Liu.
Thank you, through the chair. Just one more question for staff. Like individual residential homes are also eligible to receive this. Is this correct? Or should we even be considering a category for small residences? Like at some point, you know, you have a huge polygon that's like redesigned around an entire forest. Meanwhile, as Councillor Wolf suggested, there's, small builders who are just working around one thing in their yard and trying to really work with a smaller footprint. Maybe we want to consider having that smaller opportunity for, a regular builder to get in, if you will.
Through the chair to Councillor Liu, both types of projects would be eligible for consideration, whether it's large scale or small scale.
Okay.
Any more questions from committee? All right, the recommendation was moved and seconded. I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It is carried. Thank you. Item number 4, Board of Education of School District number 38 Richmond 2021-2022 eligible school site proposal. Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have nothing further to add, but I will ask Mr. Kevin Eng to provide a brief summary of the report.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hopkins. Good afternoon, and thank you, Madam Chair. The report before committee is comprised of 2 main components. Firstly, the report provides information on school district enrollment projections based on anticipated residential development, which informs the eligible school site proposal resolution passed by the Richmond Board of Education. The eligible school site proposal reflects residential growth and associated number of school-aged children over a 10-year period, which is consistent with growth outlined in the official community plan. As a majority of the growth is anticipated in the city center, a new eligible school site in accordance with school district standards is identified at 1.9 hectares or 4.7 acres in area and an estimated land cost of $75 million in the Lansdowne Village area of the city center area plan. In addition, residential growth associated enrollment projections over the next 10 years is taken into account through planned expansions to existing schools and a new school facility in the Dover Crossing area on land already owned by the school district. The second part of this report outlines potential impacts resulting from eligible school site proposal to the school site acquisition charge rates, which are funds from residential development collected by the city on behalf of the school district. School site acquisition charge rates, including any changes, are decided upon by the Richmond Board of Education, who are required to adhere to a prescribed formula set by the province. These provincial regulations also place a maximum cap on the rates. Although there is a maximum cap placed on the school site acquisition charge rates, it is anticipated that a 30% increase from current rates can be expected, as outlined in attachment 2 to the staff report. If the eligible school site proposal is accepted by Council, the Richmond Board of Education will forward it, along with their 5-year capital plan, to the Ministry of Education for acceptance. It is anticipated that the Richmond Board of Education will review school site acquisition charge rates in the winter of 2022. With that as background, staff recommend that the eligible school site proposal be accepted and that the school district staff consult with development sector stakeholders so that they are aware and informed of potential changes to the school site acquisition charge rates. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Councillor Liu.
Thank you, through the chair to staff. Thank you for this report. It seems pretty expensive for this site, and there's no question that there will be some children living in this area. So at $75 million for 340 spots. That's $220,000 per spot for a student to be in the school. Is that correct? Have I got my math right? And then it looks like if they're going to try and increase the charges, like if they're trying to somehow pay for this program and somehow charge it to those 16,750 new units, that actually works out to $4,500 per unit. So they're going to have to raise it a lot more, or it starts landing on the rest of Richmond to somehow come and figure out those extra 300 spots in central Richmond. So when we're commenting on this, we're just agreeing that we agree with whatever their idea is of that, or that they might possibly just go up 30% and still be like well under funding their spots. Or did the funding come from somebody else?
Madam Chair, perhaps I can tackle that. What you're doing here is confirming that the notion of a new school site in this area is consistent with the planning that the municipality has for the area. But, you know, whether you're not necessarily being asked whether it's a good idea or whether it's cost effective or whether the per capita or per student cost is, you know, reasonable or not. Most of your school charges now are in the order of $600 or $700 a unit, and the cap is around, depending on the unit type, somewhere between $900 and $1,000 a unit. So, right now under provincial regs, the school site charge can't be increased above those caps. So you're not going to see them increase from, say, $600 to $4,000 a unit because those caps are in place. And, you know, in principle, this isn't that different to development cost charges. The city uses development cost charges, which are imposed on new development that create a demand for new roads and services to pay for those services. That's what this would be doing too. It would be new development contributing this charge to help provide new sites for schools required by that development. So kind of similar to the municipal situation, if the cost isn't borne by new development, which creates the demand, then it has to be borne by the general taxpayer.
Okay, thanks.
Just a comment on that. So I understand that our city staff, you know, they work with the school district. The school district uses our data from our official community plan to generate the information on how many students, you know, they'll be seeing come over the next 10 years. With the school site acquisition charge, we collect it on behalf of the school district. It's up to the Ministry of Education, the province of BC, and the school district to fund the school. Is that correct?
Right.
Madam Chair, yes, that's correct.
All right, thanks for that. Any other questions from committee?
Move the recommendation.
Recommendation has been moved. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Steves. Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? It is carried. Thank you. And I believe there is a manager's report. Mr. Cooper?
Yes, it's my pleasure, Madam Chair, to introduce a very new and important position in the building approvals. We have a new manager of plan review. Her name is Sohre Mahidar, and she is not only an architect experienced in high-rise construction, but she's also a PhD of urban design. So we're very happy to introduce Sohre to our little group, and you'll have lots and lots of opportunities in future to meet her. Unfortunately, we had a little bit of difficulty in getting her on board, but she is here via telephone. So I'll ask her to say hello, Sohre. No.
Well, hello, Sohre, and
okay.
Welcome to Richmond.
Welcome.
Anything else? Any other managers' reports?
Move adjournment.
All right, move adjourn. All those in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.